Okay, welcome back. This is video 4 in the 3D modeling, AutoCAD modeling process I'm showing you. I have no idea how many videos there are going to be. I'm going a little slower as I'm talking through it. Happy for some feedback as to should I go quicker or should I explain more and make these videos stretch out. I have no idea. We left off. We were creating the roofs. I'm almost done this last roof. Couldn't quite finish it. If we look at it, we have two solids. This one needs to be sliced. I sliced it here first. I'm going to go ahead and union it back together just to show you this. I think it's important. If I slice this roof, I say, oh, I want to slice it on this roof so it stops here. I'm going to slice it on a 3-point slice, which defines the slice plane. I'm going to slice it at this corner. I'm going to turn my snap off and drag it back with my ortho on. And then I'm going to turn my snaps back on, with F3 is what I use, and hit the top of the roof. I'm going to say keep both sides. Now if I click, you can see it sliced these apart, but if I erase the inside, I'm left with this little missing chunk. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm back to where I sliced it vertically. Now I can slice this part away, the part that's just overbuilt on the other roof, by saying slice. I'm going to select this. I'm going to slice on 3 points. Here, turn my O snaps off, drag back, turn them back on, drag up, and say keep both sides. And then I'm going to click this and erase it. Now I've got two solids that are correct. I'm going to union those together. Oh, one thing I want to undo that, because what I remember now is that the building jogs back and this roof continues up till it hits the other wall. I'm going to go ahead and do a distance command and see what the jog is on these walls. Probably 2 feet. It's 2 feet. So what I'm going to do now is use a new command. I have this toolbar brought in. Again, it has my solids editing, my union, my subtract, and my intersect. I don't think we've done that yet. We'll get there. This next part has extrude faces. I never use this. Move faces. I never use that. Offset faces. I use this a bunch. I'm going to click it, which is in the solids command. It's sort of like a list routine that gets you a couple commands in. I'm going to hit that, which I just did. Now again, when I'm selecting this face, I've actually got the front face in the top of the roof in front, and this back part, which I want to push 2 feet back. Actually, no, I don't want to do that yet. See, these things happen. So I only want to push back the 2 feet that are on the left side of this wall jog. So I'm going to go ahead and union this roof back together. Now they're one solid object. I'm going to slice it again on my YZ plane. And I'm going to select this wall corner. And I'm going to say keep both sides. Now I want to push this face back 2 feet. So I'm going to use this offset face command. The first time I click, it's going to grab the top of the roof. I have to click a second time, or I could simply click the line and click both attached faces. So I've got two faces selected. I'm going to hold my shift key, and I'm going to click somewhere out in my top face. Did that work? I don't know. Let's see. If I extrude that negative 24 inches, it gave me some sort of error, which tells me I did this wrong. So I'm going to zoom again just to get a different view. Sometimes you stare at these things and they become Escher-like. Again, I'm going to offset this face. I'm going to click the top face, and then I'm going to click again. I get the back face. Now I'm going to shift and click the same spot, and I think that removed the top face from my selection. I'm going to enter. And my offset distance, now I did type negative 24 last time. That was wrong. I have to type 24 because I'm pushing it kind of tangent or perpendicular to the face towards the back of the house. Now you can see that shot that face up there out of my view. I pull back. That looks right to me. I'm going to look at my shaded view, click these objects. What I like to see is the highlighted line at the edge. If it was into that wall, you wouldn't see that line. I like to see all three sides. That means clean geometry. I'm going to go ahead and union that back to this piece of the roof. I'm going to hold it, orbit it. That's exactly what I want. So I'm going to actually match properties of my other roof to that roof. Now they're on the same layer. Now I've got all the walls and roofs of this thing done. Now the choice is, what's the next step? You can go in any order. It's just good to be consistent. You might want to bring this into your 3D program at this point, just to kind of pick your view. Who knows? But I think generally I want to build the next major geometry, which are the porches. Or while I have this view, you've got some of the skills to build the porches. So in this case, I'm actually going to put the window openings in the wall. Forget about the stone for a minute. We'll get to the stone later once we get the walls the way we want them. So I'm going to go ahead and put windows in the wall. Again, the first step, I'm going to go back to wireframe. It's just easier to CAD draft if you're an AutoCAD person in wireframe. I'm going to look at the front of the house, which flips my UCS up to there. XYZ. 3D Studio is referred to as a UCS, and so I kind of confuse the two sometimes. But I'm looking at the front of the house right now. I'm going to use my isometric to get back to where I can see. You could use orbit. You could use whatever else. But I'm working on the front plane of the house. What I want to do is draw a bunch of rectangles. I'm going to use the outside of the window, but not the trim, to define the hole in the wall that I'm going to take out to put the window in later. Now, these windows all look to be the same size, so I'm going to copy that rectangle a few times. Hopefully they're all in threes. I'm going to go ahead and copy those sets of threes around. Something's wrong down here. I must have hit a wrong. Ooh, there's a lot going on. So there's a different size window in here. I didn't notice that. So I'm going to erase that rectangle. Now again, I'm kind of remembering, and it looks like I hit a bad point here. So I'm going to. No, that's that same odd size window, or it's just positioned differently. So I'm going to move these rectangles and fix that. I think this window is smaller. I'm kind of making a mental note that I have 1, 2. This looks like the different size window. I'm going to draw a new rectangle, so 3 size windows to create later at this point. I'm going to copy these rectangles over here. They don't really line up, so there's just a little bit of non-symmetry going. Or something, I don't know. Again, I'm going to copy this window first because this window looks to be the same size. So yes, I'm still in 3 sizes of windows. I'm thinking this window is a different size as well. So I'm about, whoops, I hit the wrong side. I want to stick to the outside of the window. I'm going to call it the frame. While I'm drawing rectangles, I'm going to go ahead and draw the front door. Now, a lot of architects, this is actually nice that these lines all intersect because I can kind of find the outside of the door. Again, I want to kind of bear in mind, and this is going to be confusing now, but when you see, you know what, I'm going to stick to the windows for now. I think that'll make it simpler. So I'm going to extrude all of these rectangles I just made. I'll come back and do the doors later. I'm going to extrude all of these rectangles, and I'm just going to pull them till I know they're going well through those front walls. Then what I'm going to do is subtract those out. However, I've got 3 objects here, so if I subtract from this wall, I have to make sure to click just the windows that intersect that wall. To make my life easier, I'm going to go ahead and union these 3 front walls together right now, so they're one object. So now I can say subtract, select my front wall, and then select all these solids, and bam, we've got window openings. That was kind of fun. Let's go ahead and do doors now. Again, you know what? No, I'm going to skip back. I'm going to draw one 3D window so you understand the process because the doors are drawn different. With the window, I have a frame, which is about 1 inch thick. I have the top sash, and I have the bottom sash, which probably are 1.5 inches thick if I do a distance. And that's exactly what I draw my windows at if I were to draw one from scratch. So I generally follow the drawings. If they're simple windows like this, that's helpful to do. I'll start with the window I have the most of up here. So what I want to do is I want to I guess we're making it to draw a window here. We've got 5 minutes to draw a window. I'm going to draw this window with a series of rectangles. First thing I want to do is draw the bottom sash, because there's a point here which is not defined other than an intersection. So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to say rectangle, and I'm going to type intersection, so that I can type one line, and I get the outer part of that bottom sash. I'm going to go to the other outer part and draw another rectangle from the inner part. That's going to give me my bottom sash. I can do the top sash the same way, but I've got all my points there, so I'm going to draw 2 rectangles to define that. Now I'm going to draw my frame of my window. So I'm going to go to the inside of the frame to there. Now I'm going to draw the outside of the frame. Now what I want to define is a rectangle for this vertical mutton. The way I do this is I would draw a rectangle. I'm using an arbitrary point, and I'm going to say at 3/4 inch, which is 0.75, comma, I don't know, 4 feet, 48 inches. Now I'm going to modify that. I'm going to move the midpoint to that point, and I'm going to stretch this down. So that's a 3/4 inch wide mutton. These lines are going to give me everything I need for the window. So real quickly, I'm going to just do it to show you. I would probably go ahead and do the rest of these windows and do these windows at the same time, but I'm going to stick to one right now. I'm going to copy this window, all these rectangles. There are 7 rectangles in this window. I'm going to copy it straight back with my ortho on 3 times. Kind of keep them clear of each other so I can see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to erase the rectangles I don't need. So with this series of rectangles, I'm going to create the frame. With this series of rectangles, I'm going to create the 2 sashes, the upper sash and lower sash. And with this series of rectangles, I'm going to create the glass objects and the vertical mutton. So what I'm going to do is, on the back one, I'm going to erase all the inner stuff. Now I've got 2 rectangles, the inner and outer of the frame. I'm going to do this with the sashes. So I'm going to actually say erase everything, and then I'm going to remove just these 4 rectangles. Inner, outer, inner, outer. With this one, I'm going to erase the outer of the sashes and the frames all at one shot, and this gives me glass, glass, and mutton. Now I want to build the window. I'm going to use the extrude command. I'm going to extrude the frame 4.5 inches. I always do this. It always looks fine. The muttons are 1.5 inches thick, so I'm going to extrude those 1.5. Now I want to set this mutton on top of the glass, so I'm actually going to extrude the glass negative 0.25, and then I'm going to extrude the mutton positive 0.25. If I look at this in 3D, I have a bunch of intersecting rectangles. So I'm going to go back to wireframe, and I'm going to subtract out the inner rectangles from the outer rectangles. So I'm going to subtract out the inner from the outer, inner from the outer, inner from the outer. I'm saying it in the wrong order, but you hopefully understand. Bear with me here. I'm going to change the glass to a glass layer, 3D glass. And I'm going to move this whole set of things here from the midpoint of the glass to the midpoint of the inner part of the sash. Now these are flush. I want to push the top portion out the width of the sash itself. Now I want to move the whole window based on this part. I'm going to just put in the middle of the frame. Now if I look at it in 3D, that's my window. Again, I put the glass on a separate layer because materials in 3D Studio are, the way I set it up, dependent upon layer. But the block I make here of this window is going to be on one layer, and the glass will be in the other, giving it its own material. So I have created the geometry to make a window block here. I'm running short of time, so I'm going to stop here and make it. Maybe I should, in the future, just do a tutorial, strictly on windows and doors or something. But hey, this is what I'm doing. So yeah, so that's it for now. We'll see you next time. Thanks.